All right. Great. Hello, Lakeville. This is absolutely amazing. And it is so fun to be here with my friends. As I was looking at all of you and seeing this incredible political organization you have here in the cold, I was reminded of when I was first running in county for county attorney, and I was in Minnetonka, right? And back then, the western suburbs were almost entirely Republican. And I was walked into what I thought was the Democratic caucuses. And there was like 6 guys sitting in a room, and they looked really sad. And I thought, well, here I am. And I walked in, I go, hi, I'm Amy, I'm running. And this guy goes, oh, Amy, yeah. So I think you're looking for the Democrats. I go, yeah. He goes, this is the golf club of Minnetonka. There were so many Democrats, they had to go in the gym. And we went around the corner, and there were 300 Democrats, and we won the legislative seats that year. So I view this in our sort of very safe pandemic outdoor event in the freezing weather, whereas I love that Peggy line, I can only see your eyes, but they look happy. This is the equivalent of that. So it is wonderful to be here, of course, with my good friend Angie. And by the way, what she walked into on the Capitol that day, that was the Senate leadership fancy dinner. There was like 12 senators, and there's and Angie just, hello. And I'm like, here's Mitch McConnell. This is Angie. Anyway, but she has made such a name for herself in such a good way. And when I saw that election was going to be delayed, I just thought that just can't happen. And guess what? Some judges agreed with her. And here we are, and I'm just so excited that she's running right now and that she's leading this 2nd district. It's an incredible, incredible thing. And Matt, I know that he can be here, but incredible leader. And I was on his TikTok account once, I think. Then we have Kayla and Aaron and Lindsay. I love the speeches they gave, by the way. They were really, really good and to the point. What was the line? What is it?
Elect people who will stop the virus more than stopping the...
Okay, yes, we'll elect people that will stop the virus more than stopping your vote. So Angie and I are like, we're going to use that. With your permission. Well, maybe I'll just use it tomorrow for the interviews I'm doing in Western Pennsylvania. Is that okay? I mean, they won't know. So, all right. Okay, very good. And then Peggy, such an incredible leader. She was so great to me, too, when I was running for president. Thank you for that. As well as Melissa, who was my lookalike yesterday, and is such a good friend. Ryan, thank you. I am so excited that we're going to paint the Minnesota State Senate blue in a big way tomorrow, as well as the House. And one which is already blue, but one interesting fact is when you reelect my good friend Tina Smith, are you ready for this? We will be the only state in the country, there's only a handful that have 2 women senators, 5 or 6, but that has 2 women senators and 2 women legislative leaders in the House and the Senate. The only state in the United States of America. Remember that, Ken? That's a cool fact. Okay, so, and Ken, thank you. And thank you for doing this all day. My husband was actually in Austin and Mankato with Dan Feehan and had a good time there early in the morning. But I had the ultimate assignment today, guys. I went to Green Bay, okay? And I wore this whole, with Tammy Baldwin, who's one of my good friends, and we did this whole thing like, if Vikings and Packers can get together, then Joe Biden can unite the country. It was a good idea, but it was like 20 below wind chill, okay? If you saw any of the game today where they could hardly, that's where we were. We weren't at the game. We were just doing an event ahead of time. And then we went to the suburbs of Milwaukee, and it was cold, but I couldn't act like I was cold because I'm me, and I announced in the snowstorm. And meanwhile, Donald Trump had been in Michigan and asked that he was too cold and needed a coat. So I said to Tammy, the one thing we can't do is say we're cold. Like, we are not doing that at this thing. We are not. So I am so proud of what you're doing here. And I know that Ken was saying it's a polar coaster, all that. I can tell you, and I said this, they had me do the closing argument for the Biden campaign on Fox News Sunday this morning. So thank you. But as I said today, Chris Wallace asked, well, two things that are relevant to here. The first thing was that he asked about Tina and said there was one poll. I'm like, seriously, no, there's like 20 polls that show her 8-9 points ahead. And he goes, well, how sure is she's going to win? And I said, 100% sure. And that is how I feel about our state. Then the other thing that is really relevant to Lakeville's, he said, well, why is Biden doing better in the Midwest? Because, as you know, he is way ahead in Wisconsin, which is just, that's why I was there today. This is like a huge deal. If we can win Wisconsin. He is doing so well in Michigan. It's just double digits now. He is ahead in Pennsylvania. He's going to be spending a lot of time there in the next 2 days. And it is tied in Ohio. You talk about a reach. So as I always wanted to do in my presidential campaign, and he is now doing, we are going to build a big blue wall around the Midwest, and we're going to make Donald Trump pay for it. That is our plan. But the thing that was most interesting when Wallace, I was telling about the Midwest, I said, look, if you remember, Chris, in the debate that you moderated, where Donald Trump interrupted you 145 times, I said one of the funniest things was and you have to find humor right now in some of this. A few days later, he was on one of his rally stages, and he said, why don't suburban women like me? I'm like, guy, look at the debate, Exhibit A. So that is basically what we're dealing with. And I think there's two main issues for us to talk about that apply both to, of course, Tina and Angie and our candidates running for state legislature, as well as to Joe and Kamala. And that is that we need competence in government right now. We don't need people that wake up every morning trying to think how to divide people and how to sue and how to make things difficult for regular people to even be able to vote, and how to make people hate each other. That is basically what Donald Trump does all the time. That's what he tries to do. He gets people going. He likes it. Sometimes he tries to make them like him. Sometimes he tries to make people hate him. He just wants attention, and he wants to distract people. And you think of the difference between that and a Joe Biden, or how Angie does her job, and wakes up every morning and doesn't think, oh, how can I send out a mean tweet going after this person that I'm mad at? No, they think, okay, how can I fix the problems in front of me? And you heard Angie talk about campaign finance reform and all the work that we have to do there. Well, literally, I'm sure Joe Biden, when he gets up, he's going to want to know, what are the COVID numbers in each state? What are we going to do here? How do we open up this business again? It is just a way different way to look at life. And when I think about the coalition we built that is so important in this district, that we have built around the country and that Joe has built around the country, yes, it is our fired up Democratic base, but it is also independents and moderate Republicans. It is the woman that Peggy talked about in the Target store. It is people like John Kasich and Cindy McCain, who's been campaigning all over for Joe Biden. And that's what I want you to remember. That matters not just for how you win an election, but also how you govern, because we don't have time for the hate. And if you want to go really practical, I just always say to people, okay, so do you want to have the guy 4 more years who couldn't even get the protective equipment out to our nurses and doctors? He couldn't even get the testing out to our schools and our businesses. Do you trust that guy to get the vaccine out to all of us here in Lakeville? I don't think so. And so it is a real practical argument that people understand, as well as the relationship to the economy, where we are now losing, by one Yelp survey, 800 small businesses a day. Then you have the argument from the heart, which is kind of my favorite one, because I think it overlays all of this. And that is that we need someone with compassion, that understands the plight of so many Americans right now, the degrees that have been halted that kids want to get, the jobs they thought they were going to have next year, the seniors that are isolated in their homes. As you all know, for me, this is personal. My husband got COVID. He was really sick early on, and he was in the hospital with pneumonia and on oxygen. My dad got it at age 92. I had that scary moment of standing outside a glass window looking in, and he was so confused. He knew who we were, but he didn't know what was wrong. And he had COVID, and he didn't get as sick as a lot of people. And as I looked, though, through that window, I didn't know that. And I thought, this is going to be the last time I see him like this. So many people have had that experience. And for Donald Trump then to go and claim, as he did this week before he came to Rochester, the home of the Mayo Clinic, he blamed doctors and nurses, our first responders. This is what he said, for exaggerating the numbers of COVID cases. So you wonder why that Rochester rally didn't go well. So the argument from the heart is that we need someone with compassion that understands what people are going through. And I'll end with a story that I told a lot on the campaign trail. And then actually Joe told it when he went to make his closing argument for their team in Warm Springs, Georgia, which sounds really good right now. And he went down there because that is where Franklin Delano Roosevelt would heal, having had the polio virus many, many years before. And that's where he would think of ideas of how he could heal the nation. You think about the historical relevance of this, because when Franklin Delano Roosevelt came in, we had the worst depression we've ever had until we come to now with what a crisis we're in right now for our country. And what he did in those first 100 days was phenomenal. He put together this phenomenal cabinet. He had ideas. They got them done. They pushed them through. The people had lost trust in their government, and they gained that trust back. So years and years went by. He got us through that economic crisis, and he got us through the war. And when he died in Warm Springs, they put his body on a train. The train went through the countryside, and people would spontaneously stand by the tracks to show their respect. And this one guy was sobbing, his hat in his hand, just a regular guy. And a reporter came up to him and said, "Sir, did you know President Roosevelt?" And the guy says, "No, I didn't know the president, but he knew me. He knew me." That is Joe Biden. And by the way, that is Angie and Tina and all these incredible leaders that we have, and Peggy and Tim. They know you. So if you know someone in your family that can't make their paycheck stretch, so they have to decide are they going to fill their prescription or fill their refrigerator, they know you. Joe knows you, and he's going to fight for you. If you're someone that's trying to balance your toddler on your knee and your laptop on your desk while you're trying to do your work or look for a job, Joe knows you, and he'll fight for you. If you are trying to teach your first grader how to use a mute button in order to learn, or maybe better yet, as I did, your in-laws, you're trying to teach them Zoom and they just learned it last week and it's a really bad situation because they've got 6 sons and now they want to do Zoom all the time. Joe knows you. Well, he knows me, I guess. And he'll fight for you. And if you are tired of the noise and the nonsense and the meanness in our politics, this team up here knows you, and they're going to change things for you. So this is our moment. So I want you to spend these next few days, 2 days, just being annoying, calling everyone you know, because I know you guys all voted, and I know you're sending out tweets like I do, vote, vote, vote. I think I said approve 3 of them tonight, but you got to do more than that. You actually have to call those people that you know in your family, friends, people you work with who don't always vote or who are unsure. And then just keep bugging them until they vote. And just keep texting them and emailing them and calling them and get that commitment. That is how we're going to win this right now on a grassroots level. You have been tremendous to get through this pandemic as you are and to still have this kind of spirit. And we need to bring that spirit up a notch, because I just want you to picture that election night when you're much warmer than this and you're in your house and you're with your friends and you're going to see that big blue Minnesota flash up on the screen. And then you're going to see, as we go through the country with how these numbers are coming out in places like North Carolina and Florida and Georgia and yes, Michigan, Wisconsin, and pretty soon you're going to see, I don't know if it's going to be that night or the next day, Joe Biden declared president. Let's go do it. Thank you guys.